Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the videos. Do our channel a favor and click like and subscribe. Even if you never decide to watch another one, it will always help us. So just go ahead and do that if you haven't done it already. So welcome. Today we're going to be talking about in Romans chapter 2. And I don't hear a lot of sermons on this. I don't know. But Paul is talking about hypocrites. And then he goes from hypocrites to like a reality check. And remember, he's talking to Christians here. He's like, reality check, guys. Here's how you're going to be judged. So he addresses these hypocrites for the first 5 chapters. And then he says this to them. He said, but in accordance with your hardness and your impenitent heart, you're treasuring up for yourselves wrath in the day of wrath and revelation on the righteous judgment of God, who will render each one according to his deeds. I'm about to lose some of you because there's some popular theology around here that says, hey, listen, God does not care about how you live. All he cares is, are you saved? And that is not, are you saved or whatever. That's not scriptural. It's not scriptural at all to say that, I'm saved and and I'm just got all this. I've heard it called messy grace, and I've got all this. And believe me, I don't want to do any damage to the gospel of Jesus Christ by saying that, listen, you can be a total mess and become a Christian, but you need to also understand too that when you become a Christian, God will, and it'll be in the natural order of things, that God will begin to clean your life up. That your works will be as filthy rags, whereas in the new person God makes you into, you're going to be living out the righteousness of God. You are going to be salt and light to a fallen world. You are going to be precious in God's sight. You are going to be a bunch of things. One of the things you're not going to be is you're going to be continuing walking in your old ways. I will say this, and this will get me in trouble on the other side too, probably. But the other side of this argument are the people that almost expect you to look like you're perfect when you first get saved, and that's not it either. I'm just trying to say here what the Bible is saying, not what I am saying, is that God will render to each person according to his deeds eternal life to those who by patient continuance in doing good seek for glory, honor, and immortality, but those who are self-seeking and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, indignation, and wrath, tribulation, and anguish on every soul of man who does evil, of the Jew first and also the Greek. Those words mean Jew and Greek. That means just everybody. Doesn't matter who you are, but glory, honor, and peace to everyone who works what is good, to the Jew first and also the Greek, for there is no partiality with God. Now, Paul is pointing out that in the day and time in which he is speaking, there was a lot of anti-Semitism within the Greek world, being they hated the Jews. And within the Jewish world, there was a lot of everybody who wasn't a Jewism, and both sides are pretty intolerant of one another. But Paul's trying to say, look, there is no partiality. It doesn't matter your land, doesn't matter if you're Greek, doesn't matter if you're Jew, doesn't matter if you are European or African or from Southeast Asia, Australia, United States of America, Canada, South America. It doesn't matter where you're from. The difference is, are you doing good or are you doing bad? That's what matters. And the reason for that is because whenever you get saved, as Paul already talked about, the spirit of holiness has come to live inside of you. And now the natural way in which you're going to walk is going to be a way of righteousness, whereas before the natural way in which you're going, which is actually unnatural, was the sinful way. And you were never designed to be sinful. You were designed to be holy. And then when you get saved, God imparts his holiness into you, and your life begins on this path of holiness in the holy way, the psalmist called it, or it says in Isaiah, and no unclean thing shall pass over it. That's just the way of things. So don't be deceived, brothers and sisters. There's a lot of falsehood being taught in this area. And I want you to be clear on this, that don't let any preacher try to tell you that God doesn't care what you do, because he really does. Because whenever you are pushing against God, you're not walking on his path, you're walking on your own. And that's, as it says here, they people that obey unrighteousness, those who are self-seeking are those who obey unrighteousness. And the purpose of our great salvation that God's given to us is to identify with Jesus's crucifixion, that is, to die to ourselves, so that we can also identify with Jesus's resurrection, that is, to be raised into newness of life. That's what it's all about, folks. That's what it's all about. That's what this is talking about here. Now, this is not a new idea to Christianity. This is the way things have been for ages and generations, even at this point. Again, this is one of those things I mentioned in another video, how it's pretty amazing how the Bible, people have said that it sometimes borrows from Greek ideas. I don't think the Bible borrows from Greek ideas. I think it confirms what some wise Greek thinkers were trying to say. I mean, you take, like, I was looking through this today, Aristotle, Nicomachean Ethics, his classic work, something I'd suggest you read. It's not the most probably not the most exciting thing in the world to read for most people, but it's amazing, especially if you understand classical literature at all and understand things that are, the things that you're saying in here. And if you understand theology, you'll notice that there's some intersections in here. One of those intersections were these Aristotelean virtues that we talk about. Aristotle talks about things such as patience, modesty, temperance, friendliness, righteousness, things like that. And it sounds very, very similar to what Paul said. He said, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, righteousness, and self-control. And not only are these similar in their path in their thinking, but also similar in the literary device as well. That this is a list. It's happened a lot in classical literature, that there would be just like, let's describe a thing and give a list. And so what Aristotle meant to be virtuous was not too far removed to the fruit of the Spirit, which Paul's saying. So what the difference between the two is, Paul's not borrowing from Aristotle. He's just confirming that Aristotle, was on the path of truth here. And we don't have to be afraid of that. Again, we don't have to be afraid of that, because if God is true, if God is real, we would almost expect that people that were earnestly seeking truth, whether they were Christians or not, they're going to derive some of these same ideas that you will find in the Bible. And all this does is just confirm the biblical narrative, which, as these classical Greek thinkers were groping for this absolute meaning, for this, like Plato he had this idea of the good to grope after. These classical thinkers were trying to understand God and how this all works. Paul's saying, here's how it works. No longer a mystery. The Spirit of the living God comes to dwell in you, and when he does, he imparts those virtues into your life, and you begin to naturally live them out. So, yeah, God definitely cares how you live. He has designed you to live a life that reflects his love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and his self-control. And self-control, my friends, is not abstinence. God's not trying to make you into a fuddy-duddy. He's not trying to tear you away from everything you love and all this. And no, God, all self-control is, and this is probably the most important and most neglected of those fruits, that fruit of the Spirit description. What self-control is putting everything in your life in its proper order and getting rid of the things that have no value. And all the rest of that is up to you to discover personally, because that's not always, for some people, it gets so personal that it's not even found in the Bible. It comes from direct revelation from the Holy Spirit himself within you. That's what Christians would believe. So yeah, there you go. There you go. Now, as my this cultural background study Bible mentions, it puts an emphasis on this idea of the law written in their hearts. And so I wanted to just read a little bit of this to you. It says, ancient thinkers often spoke of a universal natural law that provided people with innate knowledge or decipherable evidence of what is right. Thinkers often connected this natural law with the idea of conscience. Jewish tradition declared that God had already given all humanity some basic commandments which humanity had violated. The point was to emphasize that Gentiles were responsible for their ignorance of God. Many diaspora Jewish thinkers also spoke of a universal moral law within people. For Paul, the law written on their hearts could be obeyed only when it was written as a part of the new covenant. And one of my favorite descriptions of the new covenant is actually not even in the New Testament. We would turn to the Old Testament. In Ezekiel, let me get there. Patience, my friend, patience. I didn't have this bookmarked. It was just kind of off the cuff. But this pretty much sums it up. It's in Ezekiel 36. Give me just a second as I'm in this new Bible. Anybody that knows, here we go. You said, okay. 36 verse 29. I will deliver you from all your uncleanness. I will call for the grain and multiply it and bring no famine on you. And I will multiply the fruit of your trees and increase in your fields, so you need never again reproach the famine. Oops, read the wrong area. Hold on. Here we go. My bad. Said, yeah. Then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean. I will cleanse you from all your filthiness, from all your idols. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will take the heart of stone out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you will keep my judgments and do them. That's what he's saying. God's going to give you the desire to live a life that is pleasing to him. He writes the law on your heart. Pretty cool. Now, what this is talking about here, and this is a huge idea, and we don't have near the time in this short video to go into the depths of this. But on the surface, what he's talking about here is there is a natural order, the way the universe is created, the way things just work, because God is an intelligent God and he created things with a certain innate intelligence to them. And you know the difference between right and wrong via your conscience. The problem is most people will listen to their conscience about some things and not listen to their conscience about other things. And usually when they don't, their life is a mess. And reality of it is, Christianity is not about just making your life whole again. It is bringing you into relationship with the one who created you in the first place, so that you personally know him on such a personal level and love him so much that you walk the way that is pleasing to him, because he gives you the power to do so through his own self, which he puts within you. I don't know how I got all that out without taking a breath, but I did. So before I pass out, I'm just going to end with that. that is what God's talking about in Romans chapter 2. And that's why it is so important to live in a right way, to live in a way that is pleasing to him. You will be rendered according to your deeds, because God has put the power within you to choose between right and wrong, and it's up to you whether or not you do so. So you may disagree with that, and that's okay, because this is the truth conversation. And if you want to talk about it, that's what we're here to do. Like and subscribe for more videos such as these. And maybe one of these days we may even start commenting on something like that. Oh, does that freak you out? Because it kind of does me. So anyway, you guys have a good one. Like and subscribe. Thanks for listening in.